The Prince of Paxony by Geoff Maynard. Chapter 1. The Kingdom of Paxony. The sun set in a blaze of reds and oranges, darkening into shades of purple as the minutes ticked away. From the castle battlements, the workers returning from the fields looked like tiny insects scurrying back to their nests. Prince Aaron sighed. This would be the last time that he would sit up here in his favourite place, watching the sunset from the top of the castle wall. Tomorrow he was to leave. His father had given the order. His father was the King of Paxony, and the king must be obeyed. Aaron stood up slowly, pushing his long fair hair back over his shoulders. He took a last look at the kaleidoscope of colours on the horizon, then walked sadly down the stone stairway to the courtyard, where he entered the stables. As he did so, he noticed a movement of the curtain in the window of Scorba's room at the top of the keep. So, she'd been watching him again. Scorba. She was a woman of uncertain age. She looked quite old, with a wrinkled face and bent back, yet she moved with the power and strength of a warrior. All of the castle children were afraid of her. Possibly the large pet lizard that was always in her pocket contributed to their fear. She'd arrived at the castle about 2 years ago, just before the Queen had been taken ill. Scorba was talented in the use of herbs and had quickly made a name for herself as a healer. She'd even impressed the 2 royal doctors so much that they'd often deferred to her opinion in medical matters. So when Aaron's mother was taken ill, the royal doctors recommended that the king allow Scorba to treat the Queen's mystery illness because they were baffled. It had done no good. Within a month, the Queen had wasted away and died on Aaron's 20th birthday. Since that time, the king was rarely to be seen. Only Scorba was allowed unlimited access to him to treat his depression, she said. The kingdom of Paxony was left to run itself. That is, until Prince Aaron had tried to help. He'd stopped a fight between 2 farmers who were in dispute about a small tract of land. Normally his father would have mediated and the matter would have been quickly settled. However, the king was unavailable to settle this or any other matter. So Aaron had tried to help. He'd decided that the land should be split equally between the 2 farmers, and they were quite happy with this arrangement. But his father was not happy. Aaron had been summoned to the throne room. The king was in a rage such as Aaron had never seen before. "How dare you interfere in state matters?" he'd snarled. "You're not the king yet, nor shall you ever be." Aaron tried to protest that he was only trying to help, but his father wouldn't listen. The king ranted and raved at Aaron and finished by screaming at him, "You have committed a treasonable act. If you were anybody other than my son, I would have had you put to death." Instead, I banish you from the kingdom. Go, and do not return. In the end stall of the stables waited Aaron's favourite pony, Smudge. The prince started the laborious task of grooming him, thinking back to the day 4 years ago that he'd found him wandering in the woods. He'd fallen in love with the animal instantly and had brought him back to the castle. An uglier, scruffier pony could not have been imagined. Then the servants in the castle household had sniggered at the sight of a prince riding such a tatty cripple. For Smudge was not only scruffy, he was deformed. His head was out of all proportion to the rest of his dull grey body, and an ugly, lumpy growth protruded between his ears. Aaron spoke to the pony as he brushed. So, Smudge, now we are both outcasts. Tomorrow we must leave. And the next morning at dawn, only the sleepy night watch guards and a hidden face at a castle window saw them set out on their way. 2 days' riding saw Aaron and his pony at the edge of the kingdom. Before them lay the eastern mountains and the unknown. Behind them, the once level, ploughed fields of Paxony were falling into disrepair. The fences broken and the hedges overgrown. The roads to the border were becoming choked with weeds through lack of attention. The lack of an effective ruler was showing itself in the state of the kingdom. The route ahead was via the mountain pass, on a track barely wide enough for a single horse and rider. At the beginning of the track they found a small, poor inn with a dirt floor. Few travellers came this way. The old woman who ran the inn fed them and gave them shelter for the night. She told the prince that her name was Anna and that she'd lived in this inn all her life. When her parents had died, she'd taken over running the inn. As they sat by the fire, eating their meagre evening meal, she complained to him about the bad state of the countryside in recent times. Even robbers and bandits were reported to be appearing on the roads again. She said that things had never been quite this bad when the Queen was alive, and wondered what the King was doing. She warned Aaron to be careful when going over the pass. She told him that although she'd never been up there herself, she knew of the treacherous ways of the mountain. In the early morning mist, she wished the boy and his pony Godspeed and gave Aaron some bread and cheese for his journey. Starting off down the muddy track, he turned in his saddle and waved back to her until Smudge and he rounded the first bend in the track. From its high branch in a nearby oak tree, a raven's eye surveyed the scene. The great black bird stood unnaturally still, with its head cocked to one side, silently watching the events below. It waited for a while, until the young man and his pony had completely disappeared up the track. Then it launched itself into the air with a loud flapping of wings and headed west. It was only a few hours later that the raven was spiralling down to land on a window ledge in the castle keep. Scarba waited until the great black bird hopped into the room. As it watched her with a baleful eye, she muttered something and made a curious pass with her hand. The raven dissolved into a cloud of rank-smelling black, stinky smoke. When the smoke cleared, an ugly black imp stood in its place, scratching its arms. "The prince has gone, mistress," he hissed. "I waited until he started to climb the mountain pass before returning to inform you." Scarba ran a hand through her hair and smiled. The large lizard appeared from out her clothing, flicking its tongue. Scarba picked it up and fondled the lizard in her hands. Then, looking into its eyes, she said, "At last, Schlim, the last obstacle is removed. We have the kingdom in our hands." She threw her head back, her face distorting, as she cackled with obscene laughter.